Hi everyone, it's been a while since I did story time, but I figured I have a lot to get off my chest, and I also think that these anecdotes about my wonderful neighbors would also be very entertaining because things can get pretty ridiculous where I live. So, the house I live in currently was my great grandmother's house. I've been coming here since I was a little girl, but I never noticed these things about the neighborhood until, I grew up and have been living here for an extended period of time. And then I noticed more of the surroundings and realized, the kind of demographic that lives here. Um, and I just want to preface this by saying that I do live in a trailer park. However, I'm not throwing shade to like all trailer parks across the world. Like, I think my neighborhood is fine except for this section that I actually live in. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of goings on that happen around my part that don't seem to happen in other places. You know what I mean? Like, I've been to really nice trailer parks and the houses are clean, the yards are clean, the people are nice. It's just unfortunate that the place that I live in is not nice and not clean and very annoying, and we're gonna get into the stories now. So I'm gonna start off with some basic stories that I feel like if you've ever had like trouble with neighbors, you can probably relate to these stories. So if you live in like an apartment complex or a smaller neighborhood, or maybe you live in a neighborhood where it's just like the houses are really close together, you have to be very considerate of how much noise you are making, right? You have to kind of like take into account like how thin are these walls, how small is the yard, how far apart are houses from mine, and how will my actions and words and whatever else, music, how might that affect my neighbors? This is something that my neighbors, I don't believe they have ever thought about, because being in a trailer park, our houses obviously are very small and very close together. But this does not seem to faze the neighbors in the slightest, because they are constantly shouting across the road to each other, not even like in an angry way, but just like, hey, can I borrow your saw? Yeah, what do you need? Like, anything else you need? And it's like, well, maybe you could just walk, the 50 feet over instead of shouting across the street and disrupting everybody else in the vicinity because you're shouting and it's really loud. Not to mention that there is one neighbor in particular. I will actually draw like a graph illustrating where all the houses are, so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about, so I don't have to like pantomime everything. So our good friend Mr. B, who lives across the street, obviously these aren't real initials or anything, he likes to scream at his dog every single day. Every single day. Every single day. And that's not an exaggeration. I am not, saying like, oh, it's every day, but it happens like, once a month. No, it is every single day I hear it. I know the names of his dogs. I've never met him officially. I've never talked to him. I've never went over to his house, but I know the names of his dogs because he screams them every single day. And they are Popeye and Lucky. And I don't know what his deal is, if he's never heard of, owning a leash before, or if his dogs like always get off the leash somehow, although I'm sure that's not the case, because it's like, how would they be getting off the leash every single day? But yeah, I don't know what he's screaming about. If they're running away, if he's just the type to scream at his dogs, I don't know. I just hear him screaming every single day.
Come on, get your ass in the house right now.
every day. They are also the people in Mr. B's house. I don't know if it's just him or him and his wife or just his wife, or I don't know who they are. But they like to peel out of their driveway really quickly and violently. And I'm not sure why, like what that accomplishes, but it's just like a really jarring sound to hear. Like this is one of the lesser complaints, but it just makes me question, like, why do you do that? Because they peel out of their driveway so fast that it does, you know, the and then they go on their merry way to the grocery store, and it's like, what huge fucking rush. And that's not an everyday occurrence, but it happens very regularly. Not to mention when they're coming back, I'm pretty sure this is the wife who does this. When she's driving back to her house, she likes to honk at the neighbors to like say hi or whatever. You know, when she's driving past the neighbors' houses, like, beep beep hi, beep beep hi. How about you get in your driveway, park, and then go over to their houses and say hi? Or how about you walk over and say hi? They're not that far away. I could walk down this whole road in like 5 minutes. I could get to 20 different houses in 5 minutes. I don't think you need to honk your horn to say hi all the time. There's also a house, which I don't think it's like nearby. It sounds kind of far away. But there is a particular house, and I know it's the same house because they play the same music every single day. Josh had told me that they were probably bumping Isaiah Rashad's new album because he recognized the bass line because it was so loud from my house. He recognized the bass line from my house because it was so freaking loud. So every single day, again, this didn't happen until this year. Like, it happened every once in a while, but then this year they started playing this music every single day again, beginning at, it varies from day to day, but usually beginning at like 8 or 9 a.m. and going until, like, off and on until 11 p.m. at night. Every single day. They just wake up. As soon as they wake up, blast that shit. Just disturb the whole neighborhood all day long. And I have no idea what house this is, who lives there, if it's even, you know, in my neighborhood or if it's in the next park over, because it's like super loud, but it sounds distant. And it's so loud still that I can hear it from, you know, whatever distance through my walls, even when I'm in the shower, with the shower going, with the fan on, through my walls, across the street. I can still hear it. It rattles my windows. And I'm at a loss. I started working from home a couple months ago, and let me tell you, it was just the most annoying thing ever to hear that. Yeah, I don't know if you guys feel this, but like when I just hear bass, it really annoys me. There also happens to be a lot of domestic situations. I don't know the specifics of these, and I'm not gonna, you know, pretend that I know, but I just want to say that the cops are called over to this area a lot. I don't know who's calling them or, you know, what the situations are, but I remember distinctly being woken up at like 1 or 2 a.m. one night and seeing, you know, the red and blue lights like flashing in my window because the cops were across the street. And I hear a woman scream, "No, don't leave me!" I don't know if she was talking to the cops. I don't know if she was talking to her man. I don't know what was going on. I don't know. But yeah, stuff like that happens all the time around here. I mean, even just the other day, me and Josh were pulling up to my driveway and we had to like inch around 2 or 3 cop cars that were parked along the street to get to my house because something was going down. I don't know what. So I think you can kind of get the gist of like what you, I just want you to like conjure a picture of this neighborhood in your mind. Kind of junky looking, kind of janky, kind of hickish, that type of shit. So I want you to know that I do take responsibility because I one summer did let my grass get too long because I didn't have a lawnmower and I didn't really want to spend the money, you know, to buy a whole new lawnmower. So I did let my grass get too tall. I know, it's an eyesore, but I was thinking I was safe because I was like, I was feeling kind of untouchable, like, who the heck is gonna, you know, complain to me when the yards around here, all of them look like shit. They have broken down cars, piles of clothes and like junk that's just sitting in the yard, old decorations from like Halloween and it's summertime, you know, shit like that. And I'm like, who in the world would complain about my grass when this is like the shittiest neighborhood I've ever seen? But it happened. I got the letter in my mailbox from the government saying that I was gonna get fined. I forget how much it was, like $500 or, you know, it's some exorbitant amount that I'm like, why is, grass is not that serious. But yeah, somebody did. Somebody called in and tried to get me fined because my grass was not short enough to their liking when all the houses around here have literal garbage laying around in their yard all year round. But apparently I'm the eyesore. I'm the one bringing down the property value. And before I move on from this section of, you know, like general neighbor, you know, butting head type things, let me tell you, I do not live in the South. This, it tries to act like the South where I live, but this is not South at all. And people like to go all out for 4th of July. And, you know, that's fine. I know some people really like to, you know, like go all out, get the super, you know, explosion, top of the line fireworks. However, if you guys have lived anywhere, just a lot of places in America do this. People will set off fireworks and all those kind of, you know, like little explosive things all summer long. Not just on 4th of July, not just in the month of July. I'm talking, they start on Memorial Day, they go through June, they go through July, they go through August, and usually like Labor Day is the last, you know, like firework day. Now let me tell you, the people in my neighborhood, they do this. They, you know, shoot shit off all summer long. Not only that, I don't know what they were using this year. I don't know what this year was all about. This was like the year of, like this, the whole year acted like, everybody acted like there was a full moon out the whole year because, I don't know, people were just acting crazy. So, people were, it was some house around here, I don't know where it was coming from because it's impossible to pinpoint anything when we're all like, you know, sitting right next to each other. It's really hard to tell what particular house a noise comes from. But some neighbor was setting off something that sounded like a stick of dynamite every single day. Again, I am not exaggerating. It happened every single day. And, you know, fireworks are kind of loud already, but I'm not talking about the fireworks that are like, I'm not talking about the regular fireworks. I'm talking about just one huge explosion out of nowhere. No like preemptive pop or fizz, nothing that comes after it, just a boom that would, it literally, it shook my house every single time. It rattled the windows, it rattled the floor, and it got to a point, like, at first it would scare the absolute bejesus out of me, and I, like, my heart would stop and be like, oh shit, what was that? it got to the point where I was expecting it every single day, and it was just that loud that even though I knew it was coming, it still freaked me the fuck out because it was so loud, and it would be like random times of day, you know, every other day. It wouldn't be like, oh, every day at 6 p.m. we set it off. No, it would be like one at 11 a.m., one at 3 p.m., one at 7 p.m. It would be, I just want to know, does anybody know in the comments what this might be? Like, it was just one loud, extremely imposing boom that would shake, like, everybody around us. And it's such a shame because I love fireworks. Like, I love the spectacle and, you know, the celebration and the pretty lights and everything. But this is unnecessary. In my neighborhood, again, because we're all so close together and everybody is setting off fireworks, it's just straight up a scene from Apocalypse Now, where you're like when I drive home from my boyfriend's house, because that's where I spend 4th of July. They like to do a cookout and shoot off fireworks and stuff. When I come into my neighborhood, thick smoke that I like have to drive like 3 miles an hour because I can't even see in front of the windshields because it's just that thick. And of course they don't buy the regular fireworks either on 4th of July. They buy, you know, the ones that go on for like 5 minutes where it's just like a little bit of onomatopoeia for you there. So yeah, good times. Now, onto the next section of this video. Again, I hope you're getting a picture of what kind of neighborhood this is, and I'm trying to tread very lightly when I talk about this next part because I'm not trying to make anybody mad, even though I'm sure it'll make somebody mad. This is a place that is very conservative, very, you know, I already mentioned they like to act like the South. They like to act like they're all, you know, big and bad, you know, overall wearing, dip, chewing, gun toting, whatever the hells. So let's just say, I think you know the political climate of conservative areas in America that aren't that smart. You know, there's a difference between like conservative wealthy and then conservative poor, and I live in conservative poor, obviously. So I come from a place that is up north, and I'm not accustomed to seeing so many Trump signs, so much like random gun shooting off. And like that stuff is, you know, it's kind of like whatever, you can ignore it. But it's around here, at least, it's to a point where it's like, it's just obnoxious. You know what I mean? Like, okay, sure, you have your presidential candidate that you like, you have your political views, whatever. But why are we still toting Trump signs when he lost the election? And it's going to be 4 more years until he plans to run again. Like, why are we still milking that shit? So, I want to tell you, the neighbor who's like diagonal from me, I named him Mr. T for Trump, he has decked his house to the fullest again year round. These posters and stuff have never come down. He has a Trump sign, a Blue Lives Matter sign, a sign expressing his distaste for our governor, who is a Democrat. I'm just gonna say, I live in Illinois, okay? No conservatives like Pritzker, even though he's like, I don't know that much about politics, but he seems to be the best governor we've had in a long time compared to the other ones, okay? If you know anything about Illinois history. Those were always like a staple in his yard. However, when it was really getting down to the wire in the 2020 election, as it was getting closer and closer, you know, to the result day, this man puts up a big ass banner all across, like all over the front of his house, like right over his front door. And it says, "Make liberals cry again." And again, it's like, okay, you can have your political beliefs, but that's just obnoxious and unnecessary. It's just like, shouldn't we all, like want the same things? Shouldn't we all want to, reach an end goal of happiness and harmony? Why would you want, half of the country to be in tears when we all live in the same place and we have to live under the same laws? It just doesn't make sense to me. Not to mention a house like way down the street, like they're not my neighbor at all, but they have one of those big ass flags, because of course they have a giant flagpole where they fly the American flag, and then above the American flag is a sign that says, "Fuck Biden." And if that is not great symbolism to put, your preferred political candidate above the American flag, I don't know, I think that's very telling. And of course, Mr. B across the street, he has a truck that sits in his garage all day long. I've never seen it move. It has been there ever since I was a little girl coming here. I always saw that truck. And it has painted, I forget if it's painted on the back or if it's just like a sign hung on the back, but it's all across the truck bed that says "The Intimidator." And I had no idea what that was until I met Josh and he started coming over here and he goes, "Oh yeah, that's Dale Earnhardt from NASCAR." And I said, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense, because why wouldn't you be a NASCAR fan around these parts? Why wouldn't you?" I'm not trying to shit on anybody's, hobbies or whatever, but again, NASCAR has a certain demographic that even when the NASCAR, like headquarters, they banned the Confederate flag, right? They don't want that flown at the NASCAR stadiums or in the games or anything anymore. That even their most loyal fan base was really against that because you know why. I'm not gonna explain it. If you know American history at all, you know what's up. And finally, I just want to tell you this funny story. Going back to the 2020 election, I think we all remember that it was like when it was really down to the wire and, they were doing recounts and like there were close calls and it was like, kind of everyone was holding their breath like, did Biden win? Did Trump win? Like, we were waiting for a couple extra days than, the usual. I forget what day it was. Was it like November 7th or something? That the election results were finally stated. And of course, obviously Biden won. And as soon as like I checked my phone just to be like, oh, okay, he won, like whatever. As soon as I checked my phone and saw those results, I hear someone like across the street, I don't know who it was, but I hear them scream out,
"No! Fucking Georgia!"
Because, again, if you are not from America, or if you just weren't aware that this happened, Georgia is usually a red state, like, usually all conservative. However, in this particular election, it turned blue, and that, like, really helped Biden win. I'm not laughing because, like, I don't care about the presidential race or anything. It's just, like, oh my gosh, like, these people are so funny. Just calm the fuck down a little bit about Trump. Just calm the fuck down. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, you can call me a Yankee, liberal, whatever, all you want. I just want everybody to be happy. I don't want people to be rooting against their fellow American just because, you know, they like one person more, so that makes you detest a whole other group of people. It's just so stupid. But I don't think I need to get into all that because that's not what this video is about. And you can look up any article online because we're going to be talking about this shit for a long time. And that's what everything has been about since the 2016 election. And I'm so sick of talking about it and I'm sick of hearing about it. I just thought those were kind of like funny anecdotes. Also, I think they paint a bigger picture of this neighborhood that I am telling you about. So let me tell you guys, before I get into like the actual like story in this video, I want to just touch on a few more happenings that this kind of goes under the same category as, you know, just general neighborly butting heads. So it's normal for you know, a dog to get off a leash every now and then, or like a cat to wander into your yard every now and then. However, again, because our yards are so close together, I find people's pets in my yard far more than I am comfortable with. And I want to be the understanding neighbor of like, oh, you know, your pet just got off the leash, or, you know, your cat is just exploring a little bit, whatever. However, this is much more than that, because let me start this off by saying the first story I want to tell you is about my dear friend, Mr. C. His dog is in my yard all the time, and I forget what type of dog it is. It looks like not exactly a pit bull, like some kind of like lab pit bull mix. It's a big dog, and it's intimidating, and I don't know how friendly it is or whatever. But I have seen Mr. C throw a piece of bread into my yard so that his dog could come into my yard and pick it up and eat it. Have you ever experienced that? I'm curious. Have you ever experienced someone throw something into your yard and treat your yard like an extension of their yard, or like public property? Something like that, where they can just like, you know, throw whatever they want and then be like, go get it, boy. I've never experienced that before. And I don't think that's a common occurrence. I don't think that's something most people do. At least people with any type of consideration or brain. I don't think they do that. Not to mention, I've also, like, for a while before that the bread incident happened, I had like suspected his dog had been in my yard, but I never like had any proof until two different instances when, one, I found dog shit, right, I have like stairs that lead to the front door, and there was a piece of dog shit right in front of those stairs. So that was nice to almost step on. And also during the winter, there's snow on the ground, so guess what evidence I found in the snow? It wasn't pee or poop. It was a nice, crisp pattern of dog tracks that led from his house, Mr. C's house, through my yard, around those stairs that lead to the front porch, and all the way around my house. Like, he had circled the whole perimeter, because let's just let our dog, you know, do whatever the fuck it wants. Does that, like, I'm trying to be understanding, and I'm not the kind of person to, like, you know, just stare out the window waiting for someone to, like, you know, step a toe across my property, but it's like that breaches the part of, like, you know, it's a happy accident, or, you know, just a one-time thing, into the part of, like, it almost seems aggressive. It almost seems like, you know, oh, you know, go in her yard, shit in her yard, she won't do anything, I don't know what the end goal, I don't know what the purpose for that is. An innocent dog. An innocent dog has to be the object of my hatred because its owner is a piece of shit. Another story about a dog. The different neighbor, Mr. A, he has big dogs as well. And he, I don't think he's usually pretty good about, you know, keeping his dogs where they are. However, there was one day I forget where I was coming from, like school or work or someplace like that. And I was getting out of my car and I see the neighbor lady and Mr. A talking right by her house. Now her house is like right next to mine. Like we basically share a yard. So even though they were like standing on my driveway, it's like I don't really care because it's like both of our property, you know what I mean? Plus she's also my extended family, so no hard feelings. However, this man, I did not know, like he brought his dog over and that was not on a leash. That dog was not on a leash. And I did not see the dog until I was like walking into the house and I see this big ass dog, big ass German Shepherd or whatever it was, barreling toward me. And it's like, I don't know what to fucking think. Like, I don't know your dog. It doesn't know me either, so it could get scared and, you know, do something. And they, neighbor lady and Mr. A, are staring at me, laughing because I'm like, oh shit, because I see this giant ass dog coming for me that I don't know. And they have the nerve to laugh when I get scared when I see this big ass dog that he brought over here onto my property, and that is something I cannot fucking stand because this was not like close to her property anymore. They were standing on the corner of my driveway and this dog ran all across my driveway, past my car, up to me, like right up to my door. This is not shared property anymore. This is my property. You brought your dog on here, out here. You brought your dog on it without my permission, and now you are laughing at me when I see your dog running straight at me and I get scared? What the fuck is that? What? I have no words because I'm like, how fucking inconsiderate, stupid, fucking rude can you be? And of course that fucking dog, it was just chasing a cat. I didn't see the cat at first, but the cat, like, because the cat ran up a tree and obviously, like, I can't see, you know, through the tree trunk. I didn't see the cat until it was, like, up in the branches, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, like, I guess this is just the dog park, huh? And just let your fucking pets run amok through here and do whatever the fuck they want. And I see a bunch of stray cats in my yard as well, and it's like, I don't know if they're stray or if they belong to neighbor people, but cats are usually pretty good of, like, you know, keeping clean, keeping to themselves. They're not intimidating, but it's still like, maybe, you know, keep your cats inside, keep them fenced in or something, because I've seen at least like 6 different cats just chilling in my yard, just, you know, just hanging out as if I know animals have no sense of property, so they you know, they just think it's a cool hangout spot, but at the same time I'm talking to the owners like, get your goddamn pets off my yard. Like, this isn't fucking public property. You can't just let your animals do whatever the fuck they want. And that leads me into the meat of the animal stories. I know it's kind of a weird phrase, but this is the kicker. Okay. Also, little side note, Mr. C also had a goat at one point, and if you've ever had or been near goats before, they make a lot of fucking noise. And I'm not talking about, you know, a little, like, bah. I'm not talking about, you know, a little noise here and there. I'm talking about full-on screaming. Sounded like a lady is getting stabbed right outside my window, because it is right outside my window. Like, we're literally 10 feet apart from each other, and I can fucking hear that shit crystal clear every single day in my house when I'm trying to relax, when I'm trying to sleep. I can still hear that fucking goat screaming all day long. Oh, and there was also Mr. A had, I don't even fucking know what this bird was. It looked like a wild turkey. If someone wants to jump in and say like any other birds that are like that, I don't fucking know what this thing was, but Mr. A let that thing run into my yard as well and just pick it up and be like, oh, you little bird, you. Because fuck my yard, I guess. Just let anything happen. Okay, so let me tell you about the meat and potatoes of this story. Here's a little story within a story. So, there is a neighbor who is one house down from Mr. S. Okay, and he owns a rooster. He owned a rooster. And that rooster had been present ever since I moved in here, since even before I lived here. So it's like, who am I to move in and make all these complaints when apparently, you know, everyone's been cool with this rooster forever, even though it's fucking annoying and unnecessary. But anyway, moving on. And that rooster on its own is annoying because, again, I can hear it crowing every morning. Roosters crow every single morning. And it's not like the movies when they just, you know, like stand on a fence post and go, arr, arr, just once. Hope you guys are liking the sound effects I'm providing. Roosters do not crow just once. I didn't know this before, but living here I've learned this. Roosters will crow all throughout the day. They will crow at the crack of dawn, and then like in the afternoon, and then, well, let's say crack of dawn, early afternoon, then afternoon, and then they stop. So I have to hear that every single day. And that was annoying enough. However, last month, for like the past 2 months, there were 4 more roosters that this man owned. And not only did he own them and did they make a lot of noise, he let them wander around this whole section of neighborhood as if like he didn't have a care in the world. And let me tell you, Miss Neighbor Lady likes to leave a bird feeder right in front of her house, and right next to her house is my driveway. So let's say it's her house, her yard, her bird feeder's in her yard, my driveway, my house. Okay. And my bedroom also happens to be right outside, right next to the driveway, also right next to the bird feeder, if that makes sense. And you know where this is going. Because what do you think these roosters were attracted to when they were allowed to wander around the neighborhood? What do you think drives an animal to go anywhere? Food, right? So when a rooster finds a lot of bird seed on the ground that fell out of the bird feeder, or that fucking neighbor lady dumped out on the ground for them, do you think they're gonna go away after that? Or do you think they would come back every single day looking for food and eating food and staying in the yard around the food? What do you think they would do? I think they would stay outside my fucking bedroom window right next to my whole house and crow all day long. And that's what they did. I'm talking 4 roosters. 4 roosters. Why the fuck do you have 4 roosters? I'm getting mad even though this is the dumbest shit ever. Every single morning, I would wake up to these fucking roosters crowing loud as hell multiple times over and over every single goddamn morning. And I know I keep saying that. I'm saying it for emphasis. And I'm also saying it because I'm really angry that this happened every single fucking morning that I was woken up. You know when you're woken up out of your sleep by like something jarring and you have that kind of like and you're like kind of like in a sweat and you don't really know what's going on at first. Picture that happening every single morning. And then once you kind of like wake up and come to your senses, and then you realize, oh, it's just this fucking shit happening again. So, tell me why. If you follow me on TikTok, which I only have 4 followers, so you probably don't, you saw the video I posted of Josh using a big ass push broom to like, shoo the chickens away. First of all, I tried to shoo them away just by, like walking towards them, and then they kind of, like scurry away. That didn't work because obviously they keep coming back. So we thought like with a little more force, not like hitting them, but just shoving the push broom close to them, that kind of made them flee away for a little bit. But did that get rid of them? Obviously not, because there's fucking food on the ground and animals are driven by finding food, right? So, they're in my yard, her yard, every day, waking me up every day. Even neighbor lady herself has the gall to complain to me, saying, all these damn chickens outside. I'm sorry? You're complaining about the damn chickens outside when you're fucking feeding them and keeping them around? Does that make sense? Does that make any sense to you? If you want to get rid of an animal, you cut off its food supply, right? Am I wrong? So tell me why I am woken up by the roosters one morning, and then I'm just like, alright, I'm fucking up. I'm gonna go to the grocery store, get started on my day since I was so rudely woken up out of my sleep. I come home, the roosters are in my yard still. Now this time I'm not playing. I'm like actually kicking at them. I didn't make contact, but I'm like forcefully, like get the fuck away. And one of the roosters tries to, act like it's gonna peck me. It starts like, walking forward, bobbing its head like it wants to start something with me. And I'm like, oh fuck no. So I get the push broom back out and I start shoving them back. That doesn't deter them in the slightest. They keep coming back onto my fucking driveway. So I'm mad. I am mad. I was woken up. I've been getting woken up by these fucking animals every morning. I was woken up by them this particular morning as well. I'm already outside. I'm already hot. And I'm ready to go. I marched down to Mr. Chicken Boy's house, who owns these roosters, or owns them because he doesn't fucking watch them at all. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm the least confrontational person ever. So my heart was beating. I was like, I don't know what's about to go down. I've never met this person before. I don't know what they're like. I don't know what to expect. So I walk up to their house. And before I even knock on this man's door, I smell weed smell just oozing out through the door cracks. It's not even, at this point, I think it was like 8 a.m. It's 8 a.m. and this man, his house is already filled with this smell. So I'm thinking to myself like, oh, this dude probably doesn't give a fuck at all. Now maybe that's me being a little judgmental, but I mean, I don't know many people that smoke weed at 8 a.m. who don't not give a shit, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, usually you want to be kind of productive, you're running errands, you're going to work. This is 8 a.m. on a weekday. and he's pulling this shit. So I'm prepared for him not to give a fuck in the world. So I knock on his door. And he doesn't open the door. He says, "Who is it?" from inside. And I want to be, as nice as possible. I want to come at him correct, even though he's been getting, his fucking animals have been getting on my nerves for the past month. And I say, "Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. I live just down the street." He opens the door. And I greet him with a smile. And I say, "Hi, do you own roosters?" Because I'm not trying to waste time on any fucking small talk. I'm getting right to the point. And this man says, he's... I think he's exactly what you'd expect for a man to be smoking weed at 8 a.m. in a trailer park. He's, like, janky-ass white dude, buzzed hair, kind of like droopy eyes, shitty clothes. I'm like, oh my god. I ask, "Hi, do you have roosters?" And he says, "Yeah, you want them?" I say, "No, I don't want them. They've just been in my yard and they're making a lot of noise, and this has been going on for several weeks now." And I didn't have any follow-up to say because I want his response to that. And he proceeds to tell me, "Oh yeah, they run the neighborhood." Am I overreacting? Is that not a very weird and like kind of tone deaf thing to say? Kind of, I don't even know a word for it. It's just kind of like oblivious, I guess. Like, I'm your neighbor, trying to be friendly with you, trying to come at you correct, saying, your animals are in my yard, my property, where they're not supposed to be, and they have been disturbing me for a very long time. And then you're just so nonchalant, like, "Oh yeah, they run the neighborhood." Excuse me, sir? Like, what? Anyway, I had no idea what to say to that. I was flabbergasted. But he goes on to say that they are not his roosters. Somebody, I don't know if it was a stranger or like his friend or a work buddy, I don't know. Somebody came to his house and just dropped them off. Just to leave them there because they didn't want them anymore. And he tells me that he doesn't want them, obviously, because he's letting them run amok, and he's asking me if I want them, and he doesn't give a shit at all. So he tells me he's trying to get someone else out here to come pick them up. And I said, "Well, you need to call them faster." I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. I was like, "You need to call them like every single day until they get here," because I have a feeling either one, he didn't contact anybody at all up until this point, or he, I don't know, maybe there really was someone tied up at the rooster sanctuary and they couldn't get to these roosters at all. I don't know. I think he didn't contact anyone at all. So I, again, like, I don't know what to say. Like, I was hoping he would be apologetic or, like, be like, "Oh, sorry, I'll rein them in, I'll build a new chicken coop or something. I don't know. I don't know." So I was just kind of, like, staring at him. And I just reiterate, I'm like, "Oh yeah, because they've been in my yard and they're really annoying and they're really fucking loud and they've been disturbing me and they're waking me up, I work from home, they're disturbing my work, blah blah blah." I didn't say it that aggressively, I wish I did, but and then he proceeds to tell me again he's trying to get someone out here to get them. And that's when I'm like, okay. And I walk away and I go back to my house, and they are still in my yard, and I'm still trying to shoo them away, get them the fuck away from me. And I mean, at least he did this. The guy comes over to my house and he's shaking a bag of birdseed, and they, you know, go straight for it, of course. And thank God that was the last I ever heard or saw those roosters. However, I think someone is dropping roosters off again, because I've seen another rooster in neighbor lady's yard, also crossing over into my yard, and it's loud as hell. So someone somewhere keeps getting roosters and dropping them off at this fucking guy's house for some unknown reason to me. I do not know why you would give roosters to someone in a trailer park where we are all so close together and I can hear every single fucking thing. Like, these houses are so close together that I can never tell if, you know, when Josh visits me, I can hear his car door, like, I can hear his car pull up and his car door slam. But these houses are so close together that I can hear everybody else around here driving their cars, getting out of their cars, closing the doors, that it's so close that I think it's in my driveway, even if it's, you know, like 2 houses down. That's how fucking thin these walls are and how close these houses are together, that I can hear every single minute thing. So the last thing I want to tell you, this is like the actual story. It's not an anecdote. This is a beat for beat story of the birthday fiasco, something that happened on my birthday last year. Need to center myself. So, for my birthday last year, obviously it was quarantine time. My birthday is in the summertime, and I wanted to do something, but obviously you can't, you know, like go out to bars and go, you know, out on the town, because everything was pretty much shut down. Like, I think places were opening back up like right at this time, but not everything was open or whatever. So I thought I would just have my brothers come down and visit me. So we were having a nice get together. They came down in their car. Josh came over to spend time with us as well, and he parked on the street. And he's parked on the street a couple times before, and there was never any complaints, but he parks on the street this day because there's no other possible room in my driveway. He has to park on the street, right? So the day goes on. It was getting to like dinner time, so we were trying to make dinner plans, and Josh and I decided to get wings. And so we leave, like, my brothers didn't want wings, they wanted something else, so they were going to take their car to go someplace else. So me and Josh leave to get the wings. And when we come back, Josh parks on the street and we get out of the car, and then we hear Mrs. B across the street yell at us. I've never, just for context, I've never spoken to this woman before. I've never met her. Again, never been to their house. But she thinks she can yell across the street to us and say,
"You know I can't get out when you park there."
in the rudest way possible. And now I want to get mad at the screaming across the street, but I have a feeling it's just how the people around here were raised. Like, it annoyed me at first, but then I'm like, literally everyone around here does that. So they're just either they've gotten so comfortable living in this neighborhood where they all shout to each other, or they were just raised like that their whole lives. So this fucking lady, but it's like, I don't know you. You think you could be screaming at me like that? Like, why don't you introduce yourself first before you start screaming at me, okay? And not only that, and not only was I annoyed about the screaming, but the way she said it was so rude. She didn't say like, hi, could you not park there? It's hard for me to get out of my driveway, you know, when you're parked on the street. She says,
You know I can't get out when you park there.
like, no, we didn't know that. You didn't say anything before, and now you're coming out all angry. And not to mention, she's just chilling on the porch. She looks like she got nowhere to go. It's lockdown. There's nowhere to go. Where are you gonna go? She didn't go anywhere this particular day. She just wanted to fucking bitch and moan and yell across the street at us and be rude. I'm getting mad. It's only the beginning of the story and I'm getting mad. And so, Josh, being nice, I know he's got a short tolerance for rudeness like that, but he's polite the first time around. And he, you know, backs up a little bit so that they have more clearing from their driveway so that she can pull out. And he goes, is that good? And she goes, that's good. And so we come back inside. I think I opened my box of wings. I did not take a bite yet. We didn't even choose anything to watch on TV yet. Before I hear a knock on the door. And not just any kind of knock. It's a boom, 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 boom. Like how the police knock. Okay? And you know those moments when it's like, you know some bullshit is about to happen and you gotta like center yourself before you handle it, you know? I had one of those moments and I was angry because I was like, I'm hungry, I want to eat this food, and these fucking people around here still want to give me shit. So I went, and then I go to the door. Now this is the biggest bullshit of the story. Tell me why, as soon as I opened the door, I don't even think I said hi or anything. Nothing even came out of my mouth before this man, Mr. C, who again, I had never met before. I have never met anyone in this neighborhood besides the neighbor lady because she's my extended family. This man immediately, as soon as I open the door, says,
I want to speak to the man in the silver car.
Now, again, I am not a confrontational person. I don't know how to handle confrontation. I haven't had to handle anything like this in my life before. So I don't know what to say. And I'm staring at him like this. Because I'm like, I think I tried to like keep a polite smile on, but it was clear that I was like so fucking pissed. But I didn't want to like say it or anything, so I'm just staring. And it takes my brain a long time to like think of anything to say because I'm just so angry at how this guy is approaching me that I sound like an idiot when I'm like, what do you need? And that's when I don't think he said anything before Josh was sitting on the couch and he hears, you know, this conversation, and he comes up behind me and he goes, hey, what's up? And this man, Mr. C, who is a short, wiry old man, and not like old, I want to say like a little bit older, middle-aged, you know what I mean? Like 60s-ish. But this man, I believe he has what I like to call little dog syndrome because, no disrespect to short kings out there, but some short guys, some, have this, you know, like, larger than life, I can take on anyone kind of complex. However, like, he thought he could talk to me like that. However, when Josh comes around the corner and stands behind me and is staring this man down and he says, "Hey, what's up?" This man meeks up so fast, so fast. He goes, "Hi, man, I'm sorry. I'm Mr. C. I live right next door. I just can't get out of my driveway, man. It's a narrow street, you know. I just need you to move your car." So he talked to him like that, but he was trying to talk to me all crazy, like he was the goddamn cops. He didn't want to even fucking introduce himself. I've never fucking met him. And he tries to come in saying, "I want to speak to the man in the silver car," like he's the goddamn police knocking on my door looking for information. "Who are you, sir? I have never seen you before, sir. I don't know you, sir. Come into my house making demands." Oh, I'm so mad. And I know I keep laughing after this, but that's what I gotta do to keep myself calm and centered. So, Josh, trying to be accommodating, and I know Josh, if this was his property, if this was his house, he would have acted differently. He would have been more stern, but I know he's trying to be, like, respectful of my house and not make any trouble for me by, you know, like, starting shit with my neighbors, you know what I mean? So he's still being accommodating. And he is like, "Okay, I'll move the car." And then the guy says, oh, thank you, you know, blah, 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 blah. Acting all fake because he knows Josh could kick his ass because my man's fucking built like a linebacker and he could beat your ass as soon as he fucking wants to. So, Josh goes out and moves his car again. He inches it forward because, you know, he wants to accommodate this man now making demands. And then Mrs. B across the street again is like, "Hey, hey!" Because she sees him moving his car forward where it was before, so she can't get out of her driveway. And Josh says to her, he's like, "Hey, you guys gotta figure something out because this is the only place I can park, and you guys need to figure out, like, where I should be. You need to talk to each other and figure out where I should be so I can accommodate you both. Like, I'm not going back and forth with you." They never talked to each other. They just wanted to fucking bitch. And so Mr. C has the fucking nerve to pull out of his driveway. He's leaving. He can get out of his driveway just fine, oddly enough. And he drives down the street honking to let us know that he's not happy at where Josh is parked. Do you want to know the actual kicker to this story? So many fucking people park on the street. I have had to dodge so many cars, had to like weave in and out of so many cars because so many people park on the street. But apparently when I do it at my house, it becomes this whole big thing. Meanwhile, there's huge flatbed trucks taking up the whole street, so I can just barely eke around, trying not to get scratches on my car when I'm passing. And not to mention, people throw fucking parties standing out in the middle of the street, not moving an inch until I'm right up on them. Then they want to, you know, like kind of slowly mosey away. How is that allowed? But I am not allowed to let my guests park on the street. Oh, and that was kind of like a little sidebar. Going back to the birthday story. So, that whole shit happened. Then my brothers came back with their food. The whole rest of the day was just like, okay, the rest of the day was really fun. Like, me and my brothers, we played drinking games, we played Jackbox, we played cards, blah, blah, blah. It was fun. The next day, I'm telling my brother about this, one of my brothers. And he proceeds to tell me that when they left to get their food, this was like while me and Josh were getting wings that they left, so we didn't like see them leave or anything. When they left to get food, someone's truck was backed up into my driveway, blocking the exit. And my brother had to get out and ask these fucking people to move their truck because they wanted to be petty as fuck and block the entrance to my house just because, you know, they don't have all the space in the world because they want to peel out of their driveway so fast and go, "Arr!" and then pull away. Remember, callback from an earlier story I told you? Oh, it makes me so mad because it's like, first of all, you know I have guests over. You see extra cars in my driveway. Why don't you come and talk to me politely, correctly, neighborly? Why don't you come and tell me like, hey, you know, here's a good place to park, or we need you to move your car again, instead of backing up directly into my driveway, giving a fucking middle finger to me, trying to get under my skin, block my exit because I'm just a little bit in your way, even though you can get out of your driveways just fine. It's because you want to drive all reckless and burn your tires off because you want to be fucking NASCAR up in this bitch. So needless to say, I don't fuck with my neighbors at all. I just wish that people would have more consideration. I don't know what I ever did to these people. I am not, like, I'm a college-age student. I could be throwing parties. I could be having friends over all the time. I could be congesting up, you know, my driveway and the whole road every single weekend throwing parties. But I don't. Because I'm respectful. I even turn down my car radio every single time I pull into the neighborhood because I'm respectful of the people around me, even though they don't fucking respect me. I don't want to disturb them with my semi, you know, like, I listen to music at a quiet volume anyway, but I still turn it down when I pull in because I don't want to disturb anybody. I don't want to make any trouble. But as soon as I'm inconveniencing people just a tiny bit, or even if I'm just fucking living my life doing nothing, people want to just descend upon me and act like the pettiest, dumbest fucking people ever. Can I just tell one more story about Mr. C because I fucking hate him? This past summer, right at the end of summer, it was like late July, beginning of August, my parents come down and they came, like, I had mold in my, it's like a, kind of like a walled-in patio area. So they just came down to clean the mold and, you know, cut down a few, like, big old trees because they brought a saw with them, and I don't have a saw, so that's what they were doing. Tell me why Mr. C again comes up and talks to my dad. He's never approached me about this issue. I wonder why. He comes and talks to my dad when he sees my dad out in the yard cutting down just a few overgrown, like, they're not full trees, but they're like, they have skinny little trunks and like skinny little branches, but they made up, you know, like a big foresty wall between me and Mr. C's house, right? And they're on my property. Okay, don't forget that. They're on my property. But apparently, these trees on my property were bothering Mr. C so much that he approaches my dad, who was just here for the weekend, not me, who's been living here for 3 years. He approaches my dad and he says, "Hey, can you cut down the rest?" This is a lot of trees. A lot. It's not just like one or two. It is a lot. I don't even have a number for you. It was like over 100, okay, of these little trees lining my yard, blocking me from seeing his janky ass yard. So, my parents, being the accommodating, way too accommodating people that they are, in my opinion, agree without any labor help from him, without any monetary help from him, without any like thank you gift or any sort of help or appreciation at all. He just says, hey, can you cut down the rest? And my dad says, okay. And spends the whole rest of his day, when he could have been doing anything else, appeasing this fucking asshole who lives next door for no reason. And apparently, my man, Mr. S, I haven't talked about him in this video, but it's coming up, don't worry. Mr. S, who lives to the other side of the neighbor lady, he tells me later that Mr. C had been bitching about those trees for a long, long time. And it's like, well, why didn't you fucking say something? Why don't you fucking, like, instead of, you know, talking shit behind my back, why don't you approach me in a nice way? That's number one. Why don't you approach me in a nice way and say, you know, like, hey, your trees are kind of, like, obscuring the view. I don't know why they bothered him, since they're on my property and they're not, you know, like, maybe some sticks fell into his yard or something. I don't know. So why doesn't he say that? Why doesn't he say, like, hey, you know, some branches are falling into my yard. I was wondering if you could, you know, cut them down. Blah, blah, blah. No, not a word. Just bitching behind my back, then approaching my dad on his day off when he's doing a favor for me to do a favor for him. What do you think of that? What do you make of that? I want opinions. Because this man already done pissed me off. This was after the Birthday Fiasco last summer, when I already knew he was a rude piece of shit, and his dog wanders into my yard at his behest. Right? But after my dad had so graciously cut down all those trees in my yard, my parents had to go back home and, you know, go back to their work and everything. So I was left to take care of the branches and trunks that had been left all over my driveway, my yard, everything. So I had to get those cleaned up. And at first I was gonna call, you know, just like a tree trimmer guy, I don't know what you call it, like yard service type thing. And that didn't fucking work out, because he said it would be like $2,500, and I said, no. And so, me and Josh spent like the next day and a half hauling branches in my car and his car, just loading up all these branches into our cars, driving over to like a yard waste place where we could dump them for free. And we made so many trips back and forth, and it was August, and it was like the hottest day of the year. And then Mr. S, bless his heart, he looks like a meth head, but I don't think he is. I don't know what his deal is, but he he saved my fucking bacon, because he's just a dude who like lives to work, which I always admired that work ethic. But he like comes over after he saw us, you know, loading all the branches in, and he says, I'll take care of that for you. I can get it done in, you know, a couple hours tops. And I said, thank God, because I hate doing manual labor. He just wanted a couple hundred, which I'm much more willing to pay than fucking $2,500. And Mr. S gets right to work. I went to the bank, got his money, came back. He was already working. He was pulling all the branches like into the ditch and burning them, which I was too scared to do. Like, I didn't want to do that. But he was just going. He got diesel fuel and was burning all that shit in my ditch. And I was like, thanks, man. And guess who had a problem with this plan of action? Mr. C, who, by the way, while Josh and I were, you know, loading up all the branches and hauling them back and forth, I'm standing in my driveway, and I, you know, just happen to see like a car passing by, and I look over. It's Mr. C's car, and he is like driving so slow past my house doing one of these, you know, and I'm doing one of these because I'm like, oh, you want to fucking help? You want to fucking rubberneck when you should be helping me? When this was your request in the first place, and now you want to like just sit all comfy cozy in your house being like, yeah, I made her cut down those trees and now I'm making her clean it up. What a fucking great neighbor. And so Mr. S, he did what he said. He got it all cleaned up in a couple hours. He burned the shit. Mr. C, back in his house, he comes out, talks to Mr. S, and calls him a dumb motherfucker for burning the shit. And it's like, sir, this is a controlled fire. He knows what he's doing. And you wanted this gone. You are the one who fucking made my dad chop these trees down. You're the reason I've been hauling this shit in the fucking August heat all day yesterday and this next morning. Tell me why. Tell me, what do people need to do to keep you happy, Your Majesty? So that's the end of this whole story time. I really wish I was able to record some of these things that happened. But I never think to pull up my phone and like record anything. That's just not in my DNA. And usually things like happen way too quickly for me to even like, you know, grab my phone. Like the guy screaming at his dog, he does that every day. But it happens so quickly that, and so like sporadically, that I'm never able to capture it on, you know, video or anything. I did record one thing on Snapchat, so it's gone now, unfortunately. But this past 4th of July, after all the fireworks and explosions had subsided and it was like 3 a.m., I was obviously asleep because, you know, I'm an adult now and I got work and shit. Tell me why I was woken up out of a dead sleep in the dead of night by Mr. B's. He had like friends over for 4th of July that I guess they were sleeping over as well, and one of these friends, they must have gotten into a fight. Obviously it sounded like drinking had been involved, and I wish I could tell you what this guy was yelling about, but he was just going off at the loudest possible volume possible, and he was, I really don't remember, but it was just like, you're gonna say that shit to me, you're gonna say that shit to me. Like, I don't know, just calling him a bad friend or something. And for a while, like, it took me a second to, like, you know, get out of that kind of like sleep daze and be like, what is going on? And then like once I'd woken up and I started recording, the fight was like kind of dying down. And the neighbor guy's friend, he says, I'm walking away. And the Mr. B must have said something to piss him off again. And he's like, you're gonna say that shit to me when I'm walking away. Like, it doesn't sound like you're walking away. It doesn't sound like you're trying to cool off or, you know, like distance yourself from the problem or anything. And when he finally had calmed down and quieted down, Mr. A and Mr. B were like talking to each other since they're, you know, neighbor buddies. And they both start saying to each other like, I love you, man. You're always there for me, man. I love you. And this guy, the drunk friend comes back and he starts making fun of them like, oh, I love you, man. I love you, man. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Like, I really wish I had recorded more and that I had kept, like, I had, you know, saved the file, because it was just too good. And it was so like close to my house and the guy was screaming so loud that I was able to record it like crystal clear. So, I'm mad that I didn't keep it, but if it ever happens again, which it probably, something along those lines will probably happen sometime soon, look out for next 4th of July. I'll try to upload, like, record stuff and upload it on TikTok, but I don't know. I don't know if I'll be able to catch anything. just the conclusion of the story, this just is not the community for me. Like, maybe some people would enjoy living in this type of place. You know, they like that you can shout across the street at your neighbors, or you can let your animals run around, or I don't know. Maybe some people like that, but I certainly don't. I like my peace and quiet. I like polite neighbors. I like considerate neighbors. I also like clean yards and, you know, not fucking sticks of dynamite and dog shit peppering my property. You know what I mean? And I know I was raised just kind of differently, like, even by the world standards. Like, my family is so reserved and so quiet that we're the type of people that you would, like, never notice at all. So I think I know, you know, everybody lives differently, everybody was raised differently, and there are different, you know, there's different times when you are allowed to be, you know, a little bit louder, or, you know, playing music or whatever. But this is just too much. I know I'm a little bit more reserved and quiet than most people, but this is too much. This is way more than normal, and I would hope that everybody in the comments, everybody who watches this, would agree that this is too much. It's not just, you know, like a difference of opinions in neighbors. It's like being rude as fuck. And not to mention, the neighborhood kids make less noise than their parents around them, which is saying something. Like, I don't mind if I hear kids playing out in the street. Like, I hear it all summer long, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, the kids are having fun. But when it comes to adults who are screaming for no reason and disturbing the whole neighborhood, and one time even, I don't know if this guy got drunk like really early in the morning, or if he was just feeling himself. I don't know what the hell was going on, but he just wakes up 7 a.m. Mr. A, I believe it was, bursts out of his door and yells, "Good morning!" Sir, that's not what you do. That's not what you do when you have neighbors close by and it's so early in the morning and you could wake people up. Probably some people would say, like, they would be more confrontational, but I'm just so, like, again, I'm not confrontational to begin with, and I don't know how these people would react. Like, if they're petty enough to back their truck into my driveway and block my driveway just because, like, a car is kind of in their way, like, what would they do if I actually, you know, started complaining or calling, like, noise complaints on them? Like, I don't know what the fuck would happen, and I don't want to find out, and I plan to move away as soon as I can, as soon as I pay off my student loans, girl, and my car loan, girl. Peace. I am fucking out this bitch. I am out. I cannot, and it's a shame because look at this cute little house. If you can tell from the background, this is a cute house I live in. It's just a shame that it resides in the shittiest neighborhood in the world. So let me know what you think. Did you like these stories? Did you think I'm complaining too much? Have you had neighbors like this? Have you had worse neighbors than this? What's your experience with, like, you know, redneck people, liberals and conservatives, you know, kind of butting heads? Just let me know in the comments. And just fucking stay safe out there. Keep a calm head. And if you have bad neighbors, just try to make it work. Try to be polite. And if it doesn't work, just get the hell out, because it is not worth it stressing as much as I do over these fucking morons.